Great.
Hey, everybody. We seem to be live
Yes.
this
Hi.
Friday, October 30th, 10:48. Marlene, Jen, hello there.
Good morning.
Hi.
Buenos días.
Different time everywhere, but yeah, here we are.
Well, this is the end of October, and we're looking at Halloween and Day of the Dead, Dia de Muertos celebrations, as well as all sorts of other related events around the world. But chatting with Jen and Marlene about Day of the Dead in Mexico. You're seeing some pictures I took a while back in Oaxaca de Juarez at Boris Spider Laredo's studio at the Instituto Cultural Oaxaca, over at the Abasto Market, and in one of the wonderful gift stores whose name I don't remember. But those are some photos I have archived, but everything's going to be quite different this year for Day of the Dead. So Marlene, I'd like you to introduce yourself and your interest in Day of the Dead, and I'm going to point people to your Facebook page.
Okay, first of all, good morning again. Buenos días. Desde México, yo vivo en Coyoacán, un barrio muy antiguo. Y well, I'll go into English. I think it's better, no, Ron?
I like the multilingual approach today. So
let's, okay. I
remember,
live
you're
in
talking to my parents.
Which is very old. And I was raised in this area, more or less, in the south of Mexico. And I was very lucky because when I was a child, my mother filled our house with beautiful folk art from everywhere from Mexico. And she was very traditional in putting an ofrenda. One gets confused, many say altar, but it's a ofrenda. You put food and you put so many things. By the way, no junk food. You put wonderful things that the people that have died like to eat. So you put candles and you put incense. And then later we started going to the cemeteries, especially because we have people, or we had, now every time less, people from Oaxaca that invited us to the celebrations in their villages, all the way up in the Sierra of Oaxaca. Maybe it's quite well known because of the Huautla de Jimenez, Doña Sabina, the lady of the mushrooms, that is very near to where we used to go, not to eat mushrooms, but to celebrate the Day of the Dead. And it's a very important tradition, the most important and oldest tradition before the Spaniards came. And it's very, it's when all the families gather like 1 week before the first or the second. By the way, one day is dedicated to the young children, the difuntos chiquitos, niños, and the other days are for the grown-ups. I have here a lovely small skeleton, hello, and he or she, because she's in pink, is made out of cardboard, cartoneria. That's a folk art that has developed very strongly everywhere, and there's even for Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo and all these famous people, now the tradition that started by Diego and Frida in the 30s, I guess, when he came back from France, or more or less at that time, now every museum, folk art museum and so on, puts up these ofrendas. So good morning, everybody. I don't know if you would like me to tell you. All the shops are filled with bread, pan de Dia de Muertos. It's delicious. And it's very funny because it has on the upper part the crossed bones symbolically put on top. And each little town, each little village has another way of decorating bread and their traditions. It's incense is very important, especially the marigold, the cempasúchil. I mean, I can talk like about 20 hours about this, but it's not the idea, I guess. Oh, and then I have a crazy brother that put a tattoo on his hand. And maybe you didn't ask me all these things, but they're all part of the Day of the Dead.
Everything's connected. We're going to come back to you, Marlene. Uh, Jen, can you introduce yourself and talk a little
Sure.
bit about?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Ron. Jenny Morfin. I'm from Mexico City as well, close to where Marlene was born and raised as well, San Angel, which is near there. However, my grandparents were from California, so when I grew up, it was more about the house getting all decorated with autumn decor, and Halloween was very important. Like, of course, I was a kid, and who wouldn't like to go out and get candy? And it was a big thing. And we would always carve jack-o'-lanterns and like the nice parts, and of course go out for candy. But then when I grew up, like I would start seeing all the ofrendas, the altares, and it would start like getting a little more important. So then I got really interested in seeing like the different traditions in all around Mexico. So yeah, I love that time with all the specific things, and how in Merida they do the beak and the beeb, and like, you know, like all the different things that everyone does. I think it's one of the most beautiful traditions. And then in La UNAM that they do every year, the dedication to specific people and everything. I think it's really nice. And the way they do in Merida, they walk with all the Catrinas. And now I think for some years the desfile that I think it got canceled this year because of the pandemic. But I think it's something that's every day getting more attention. And here in San Antonio, I think that it's at least getting a lot of more attention to the Dia de Muertos. And since last year, they started doing some boats with different Catrinas and different motifs for this day. And people always do as well ofrendas, altar de muertos, and you can get pan de muerto here too. And actually a friend of mine sells a really good one, and I'm gonna get some for sure. And I think it's just a nice way of remembering and keeping alive all these memories, which is the celebration of life. And I think it's something very peculiar in particular from Mexico. That's all this part of the humor that it might seem weird, but it's, you know, like, you know, laughing at, yeah, you know, the different death. And it's something that's just like life beyond here. And it's not only that it finishes, but it's something that continues. And yeah, I'm happy to celebrate both. And my kids, we do both here at home. We do the small offering altar, and we do Halloween too. So we keep the bicultural part because we don't want to forget, and we really like the traditions, and we also like Halloween. So we do both.
Beautiful. Quick question for both of you. Are you going to have mole this weekend?
Mm,
No.
Well, probably
Maybe.
yes, but it won't be made at home because
Okay.
I've had my cook, when the pandemia, the COVID came, disappeared. She went back to her village. The village is closed in Guerrero, and I have no cook.
But you will have mole.
Well, I think we will have mole. I can get a wonderful mole from the state of Veracruz, from a little village called Jico. Sorry.
Let Marlene get some water.
yes. There we go. You need
Drink
to put
your
again.
water.
And then you can unmute yourself, Marlene. We did it, so
You have to unmute yourself, Marlene.
yeah. Thank you. Again. There you go.
Okay. I have
A
to
quick
go.
question. A quick question, Marlene. So
Yes.
how
Go ahead.
is how has the pandemic changed all of these celebrations? I understand that people the cemetery visits simply not open to anyone.
Right. I'm as I told you, my cook left into her village and they closed the roads. Many villages don't let people come in nor out.
Will there,
So
in terms of changes, will there be any big installations at UNAM or in the Zocalo?
I really haven't followed the thing, but I've heard in the radio that most of these things will be virtual. I know that some friends of my brother Felipe are putting up an offering in a bakery store, which is also a restaurant in Santa Maria la Ribera. La Ribera. Yeah. Whatever. In an area that is well, it's becoming fashion for galleries and so on. And being Felipe, an artist, very recognized for his work. By the way, he made about 4 or 5 years ago, a huge zompantli in the main Zócalo. Zompantli is the altar de calaveras, like the people that used to, well, the Aztecs used to make these zompantlis. But I don't know, most of it will be virtual. I think it's
Understood.
called in Cultura Contigo a la Distancia. ¿Puedes buscar qué están haciendo en el Zócalo? But I can look at the
No,
Zócalo
just
page.
again, I'm more interested in your direct experience. Do you know the name of the bakery?
Yes, I know the name of the bakery. Yes, I have it here. It's called Restaurante y Galería Mario Yaca. And it's under María 138. La Ribera, ¿por qué me dices redonda? Es Ribera. Restaurante y Galería María. No, I'm sorry. María 138. That's the way. I can send you the hashtag.
You can send me the.
It's
you can listen. You can either send me the hashtag or you can post it on our Planeta Facebook page or respond on Twitter. How do you spell Yaca?
No, this is the person that owns the gallery. It's LLACA, Mario Yaca.
Beautiful. Well, again,
¿No se puede preguntar festividades en el Zócalo? ¿Fiestas? Google? Well, anyhow.
Remember, listen, there's no urgency here. Look it up and again, post it later as a response later on. All of these things are going to unfold over time. So
yeah, I need to check that too, because here in San Antonio, there's I think for some years, like there's been huge Dia de Muertos things in the Pearl and different places. However, I'm not sure how it's gonna pan out this week. I should know by now, but it's really beautiful, and they do like huge different altars too with motifs or ofrendas. But I don't know. I'll see. I might go with precaution. However, it's usually places where there are lots of people, so I'm not sure.
I have to mention that our main plaza, Plaza de la Constitución de Zócalo, where the cathedral is and the National Palace, it has been taken a month ago, I think already, by some crazy people, and they put tents, but they don't live in them. They just put the tents. No sé cómo se dice, el Zócalo está tomado. No hay nada, ¿verdad? We just searched in Google and there's nothing going in the Zócalo. But of course, Frida Kahlo, Anahuacalli, the Folk Art Museum, And like Jennifer says, most likely at the university and the Museo de Culturas Populares, Museo de Arte Popular. I haven't searched, to tell you the truth. I haven't had time.
Well, that's all right. Are you seeing the screen I'm sharing?
Yes,
Or
It's
is
we
that
are.
beautiful, lovely.
So we're collecting, as I say, we're collecting and curating
Oh, look at the
tweets.
bread.
Hmm.
Now, if you're not following Marco Antonio, Ayok Marco, as a high recommendation. He's my friend I met at the Bachote market with his parents,
Now I want some bread.
and just lovely. But so many of these events, and the Smithsonian here in the US will be having their events in a virtual way. The Celebrating Day of the Dead feature on Planeta features a photo of the altar made by my former neighbor Boris.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
I can't imagine it will be as well decorated during the pandemia, but he'll have something there at Alcalá 902.
Hmm.
Um,
Oaxaca, right?
that's Oaxaca de Juarez. Yep.
Mhm.
So again, we'll see what's taking place. My memory, going back to first trip to Mexico City, was seeing Day of the Dead in the Zocalo, and was it the Anahuacalli? What places? Have Marlene, how you've seen all of these changes over time? What's impressed you the most?
And
What's
you need to
done
unmute.
well?
You need to unmute.
Marlene is unmute. Oh, only you can unmute yourself, Marlene.
Sorry.
Good.
What impresses me the most is actually the amount of people that invade the cemeteries. And they are totally unrespectable of the people sitting in front of their tombs, especially in Michoacan. And I'm so concerned, so sad about it, that my new project, which is not new, it is at least 10 years old, is to propose, and that's what I'm doing with this press release, a respect of the cemeteries with capacidad de carga, charging capacity, and to try to, ¿cómo se dice? Evitar, to avoid the impacto that they cause, And I took the example of Janitzio, and I have terrible numbers, ¿cómo se dice? Estadísticas. Can you imagine that on a normal day, there's 2,000 people daily visiting just the little island of Janitzio in Michoacan near Pátzcuaro. It's a beautiful lake. And it manages to receive on a day of the dead up to 25,000 people. So, I mean, my proposal is a true responsible tourism. I mean, one can definitely organize it in a way that you can have a economical reward or whatever you want to call it if it's designed differently. The people will be much better off. The island will be less impactada. How do you say impactado or whatever?
Impacted.
Impacted. The ceremony at the little teeny weeny little cemetery, one can walk around it. One doesn't have to go in it. So on the other side, I was thinking, there's so many 100,000 people going to Michoacan, not only to Pátzcuaro, that they can have in the teeny little the cemetery, huge screens in the plazas or wherever, showing what happens in the teeny weeny little cemeteries. I was already proposing this many years ago. Let's say it's already virtual. So there's another cemetery we used to go as children, which is called Mixquic in the area of Xochimilco. I mean, hay muertos y heridos. One can say, I don't know how you translate it in English, because there's so many people going there. They don't go to worship the dead. They go to get drunk. There are accidents. They're dead. There are a lot of people. I mean, está desvirtuado completamente. I get really upset about all this. Oaxaca, you yourself saw it in the main pantheon in the city of Oaxaca, Roncito. Remember? I mean, they don't say, we let 100 people come in, or 20, or whatever the capacity is. And then when they go out next hour, you can come in like a theater. That can be controlled perfectly well. Well, that's my main concern. And then what I've realized also is, I didn't want to mention it, but I'll have to mention it. When the film of James Bond appeared, now it's carnival. Now the idea of getting dressed, painted, dancing, and which I like, I don't dislike it, but one has started to confuse what is the cemetery and what is the other thing. I don't know, I'm not very radical, but I do believe we can do both, each one on each side. Planeado.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That's my impression.
Well stated. Well, I just kind of wonder to what degree this pandemic will change so many things that we'll see, again, more small groups, less mass tourism, or the tourism that attracts so many people, these large numbers just begin to become unattractive. I mean, I and the experiences that I recall the most fondly are the ones not late, not at 2 a.m, but during the day, and visiting and with a friend or two, and being invited often to another friend's dead parents or dead sisters or dead aunts or grandmothers, and just being able to be moved by the personal and the very, very human connection that,
I
again,
think so.
It'll be interesting to see again how all of this plays out this year, because it's going to be radically different. Period.
Well, I don't see any proposals.
Well, thank you for posting your proposal. We're going to wrap up soon,
Yes.
but other things to pay attention to. We're going to have a Responsible Tourism Day, I believe, next week on the 4th of November, and that's associated with Harold Goodwin and the World Travel Market. Again, that's all going to be a little bit different. And Responsible Travel Week, what we always host in February, that'll take place February 8th to the 14th. So see you on that side. Anything else you might like to add, Jen? And
I just think that we need to do whatever we can to continue the traditions and to see how we can do it safely. And hopefully, as Marlene said, we need to be respectful of what people want and don't want, and just to hope that next year it might be better too.
Well, I think one has to propose this because the people which should regulate these fiestas won't do it. That it is clear. Right now, everything is closed. Even whatever saint is celebrated. It's so easy to say everything is closed. That's very easy. But how to plan and divide the Carnival of the Dead, I would call it Carnaval de Muertos. Why not? Or something civil. There's a word which is interesting in Spanish. It's called verbena. Verbena. I don't know the translation in English, que es verbena, Héctor. Well, anyhow, and I think, as they said, let's close it. Go to that authority that said, let's close it and say, come on, sit down. Let's do, all the Reforma will be a carnival on that day. And keep away from cemeteries. We will count capacidad de carga. I have to make a little bit more investigation in order to address the correct people to, I mean, most of the people criticize. I always propose, always. And I not only propose, I give them the way to do it, which is sustainable, respectful, lovable, spiritual, and everything. So
yeah, you rock.
let's do it together. Help me. I think this is a nice place to, ¿cómo se dice? Desahogar mis frustraciones. I see. And keep on with the beautiful tradition. It's gorgeous. Not destroy it, you know. And Halloween, bravo. I love Halloween. I love to eat pumpkins and whatever. So let's celebrate everything, all in its place and at a time and whatever. Ron, I am very appreciative of you because you keep on motivating me instead of starting to ¿cómo se dice? Tejer suétercitos for my great-grandchildren, because my grandchildren are already very big. I think schools should be involved and universities should participate in a correct, educated way of promoting this. And I will have to say bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank
I
you
have
so
a
much.
skull which
Thank
is
you
very
so
beautiful.
much.
Look at this.
Oh,
That's
that's
looking.
beautiful.
Look at her.
Let us see it again.
It's a
beautiful.
heavy, made out of clay.
Where was that made?
Made out of clay, and it must come from, you know that I don't even know where I bought it anymore. I always have it around my house. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you again. And Jen, Marlene, thank you so much. Viewers, thank you. As I say, this is a rolling story as we'll follow Halloween and Day of the Dead this week. And thank you all, folks, for watching.
Thank you
Thank you
too.
so much. Thank you very much for having us, Ron, and having this. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.